For centuries, fishermen across the world have told stories of seeing something strange in the water. Not just shadows or waves, but figures with long hair, shimmering tails, and eerily human faces staring back at them. Some dismissed it as exhaustion at sea, others swore it was real. Today we're diving into 10 of the most chilling and fascinating real mermaid sightings fishermen swear actually happened. And the strangest part? Many of these cases were investigated, documented, or witnessed by entire crews. Let's dive in. It began with a storm. Fishermen off the coast of Toyama Bay in Japan were pulling in their nets after days at sea when they saw something trapped inside. At first, they thought it was a large fish, but as they hauled it closer, they froze. The creature had the face of a human woman. Its mouth was small, its hair was long, and its body ended in a silvery fishtail. This encounter became one of the earliest recorded mermaid sightings in Japan. Local officials were called and the body was allegedly displayed for villagers to see. According to accounts from the time, the creature was around 10 feet long, it had small, sharp teeth and pale white skin. Centuries later, researchers found scrolls and illustrations describing this. Unlike the Western idea of beautiful mermaids, the Japanese mermaids were believed to bring either good fortune or disaster, depending on how they were treated. Fishermen swore the creature appeared just before a major storm that destroyed several boats. Some believed it was a warning. The freezing waters of Newfoundland are the last place most people would expect to see a mermaid, but in 1614, explorer and fisherman John Smith claimed exactly that. While on a fishing expedition, Smith described seeing a creature with long, green hair, porcelain skin, and eyes as large as saucers. He wrote that she had the upper body of a woman and the lower half of a fish. What's stranger is he said he felt, quote, an affection toward the creature, believing at first it was a woman swimming near the boat. It wasn't until he saw the tail flick beneath the waves that he realized it wasn't a human. This account became famous because of who recorded it. Smith was not just any fisherman. He was the same man who became one of the founders of the colony of Virginia. His journals are preserved, and historians have debated for centuries whether he saw a manatee or something else entirely. But according to Smith himself, it was no animal that he recognized. Fast forward to modern times. In 2009, fishermen off the coast of Kiryat Yam, Israel, claimed to have seen something leaping out of the water at sunset. One man said he thought it was a swimmer, then the figure bent its tail, splashed the water, and vanished. Multiple witnesses reported the same thing over several weeks. The sightings became so widespread that the town actually offered a reward of $1 million to anyone who could bring proof of the mermaid. The fishermen described the creature as pale, with a woman's upper body and a shimmering tail. Some said she liked to appear at dusk, perching on rocks. Authorities investigated, but no body or physical evidence was found. Still, the story made international news. Even years later, many fishermen insist what they saw wasn't a seal or a dolphin. They swear that it was a mermaid. During World War II, Japanese soldiers and local Indonesian farmers on the Kai Islands reported one of the most detailed mermaid encounters ever recorded. The creature they saw wasn't the beautiful fairy tale mermaid. It was something much stranger. Locals call it a human fish. The fishermen claimed it had a reddish pink skin, a mouth shaped like a carp's, long arms, and spines along its head. It wasn't graceful or delicate. They said it swam aggressively and let out a shrill sound when approached. Japanese Sergeant Taro Horiba reported seeing the creature himself while fishing with locals. He described it as about 5 feet long with webbed hands and a fish-like tail. These sightings were so convincing that the Japanese military sent out patrols to try and capture one. They never succeeded, but official reports from 1943 still exist describing the bizarre encounters. Most people have heard about the Fiji mermaid, famously displayed by P.T. Barnum in the 1800s. It was later exposed as a hoax made from a monkey torso and a fishtail, but what many people don't know is that the display was actually inspired by repeated reports from Pacific fishermen who swore they'd seen similar creatures. In the early 19th century, sailors sailors and fishermen in the South Pacific claimed to have caught mermaid-like creatures with small humanoid figures. One British captain wrote in his logbook that he saw a, quote, shriveled womanfish with a long tail and, quote, finger-like claws. While Barnum's display was fake, the sightings that inspired it were real. These accounts were recorded by multiple crews at the time, and some naturalists even examined dried remains that have since vanished. Whether they were misidentified marine animals or something else, those fishermen swore they caught something unlike anything they'd ever seen before.
First up, we have the Australia sighting. A video that was uploaded in 2010 has recently resurfaced that was taken at the Great Barrier Reef. The footage shows a mysterious creature, a mermaid, swimming in the distance. Now, the video has more than 2.7 million views, and there's another video as well from the same person which has more than 4 million views. The narrator of the video explains how he went to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia to test an underwater cage that he had recently bought. 2 films were recorded, explains the narrator. He said he was testing out his camera and how to operate it, and he felt something behind him. He added that he only spotted the mermaid after he watched the footage on the computer. He never saw her in real life. Now, he claims that the video is real, not edited, not faked. Some people are claiming it's just a human in a costume, but I don't know. It looks pretty real to me. Up next, we have the Canada sighting. In June 1967, a mermaid was spotted on Main Island. She was seen in the early evening by passengers on ferries close to the west entrance to Active Pass. The Daily Colonist reported the sightings and included a photograph. Several witnesses said the mermaid had a large fish, apparently coho salmon, and one swore she had taken a bite out of it, the Colonist said on June 13th, 1967. Long silver blonde hair and topless condition were generally agreed upon. Now, the next day, the Colonist referred to her as the dimpled mermaid and said that she had the lower body of a fish or porpoise. The newspaper said she had been at Helen Point and had been seen eating a large salmon. A Cobble Hill man who flew over the area shortly after 7 p.m. managed to get an aerial photograph which reportedly corresponded closely to another photo taken. Then on June 15th, the newspaper reported that a $25,000 reward would be offered for the dimpled mermaid of Active Pass. The offer was made by Charles White of the Undersea Gardens, who added that a panel of competent marine biologists would have to confirm that the mermaid was the real thing. He also promised to negotiate a contract with the mermaid. I think we could come to terms. We would offer a substantial salary, room and board, and a supply of those special combs that mermaids use, he said. Now, unfortunately, no mermaid came forward, and the story kind of just disappeared. Moving on to the Jamaica sighting. Jamaica seems to be a hotspot for mermaid sightings. I mean, there are hundreds of them. From YouTube to TikTok to Reddit, people have been sharing their stories. Now, this particular video was taken at Flatbridge, where there have always been rumors of sightings. Now, in the video, you can hear people saying it's a mermaid. Watch, a mermaid, Jesus. Oh, she's gone, a woman says. Now, Daniel Gale, who has been diving and fishing in the area for the last 10 years, says the river has a season when the mermaid wants blood, and that's when a series of accidents usually occur. Whenever the river changes its color and gets dirty like now, that's when it's dangerous, and that's usually when the mermaid is active, Daniel told the Star. It said that the only thing that will quiet the mermaid is blood, so as soon as it's satisfied, all accidents will cease. Now, it seems like this mermaid is no Little Mermaid type and is more evil than people thought. Now we have caught in a net. Fishermen are pretty brave. They sail in stormy weather, they've seen all different types of animals, nothing can really scare them. Well, that is unless they stumble upon a mermaid. In a viral video, it appears that some fishermen caught a mermaid in a net. Now, they didn't need to do this, they were just trying to see what fish they caught, and boom, a clearly humanoid arm with a webbed hand reached back at them from the net as if it was trying to grab the men. Now, the men leaned back to avoid it, and unfortunately the net slipped and fell back into the ocean. They then scrambled to lean over the side of the ship to see if they could catch another glimpse of the creature, but they couldn't, and whatever they saw got away, never to be seen again.
In 1978, a geologist hiking near Iceland stumbled across a strange fossil embedded in a rock wall. It looked like a partial skeleton, with a humanoid rib cage, scaled lower limbs, and elongated finger bones. He turned it
it over to the University of Iceland for study, and then it vanished. To this day, only photographs remain. Some experts suggested it was a hoax or misidentified fish bones, but the proportions didn't match any known marine species. What's stranger is that mermaid sightings are extremely common in Icelandic folklore, especially in that region. Locals believe that fossil was proof of an evil sea witch believed to lure sailors into whirlpools and drown them. During the Cold War, Soviet submarines patrolling near the Sea of Japan recorded something bizarre on their sonar. What sounded like high-pitched singing, followed by multiple fast-moving underwater objects surrounding their vessel. At first, the crew believed it was a foreign sub, but no signatures matched known technology. One sonar technician described the singing as, quote, almost human, but not quite. Years later, after the fall of the USSR, some of these logs were leaked to independent researchers. Many now believe the Soviets may have encountered the same mysterious beings that Pacific Island cultures describe as sea sisters, a group of female spirits or creatures who travel in pods, warning or punishing those who disturb the ocean. Off the island of Vis, off the Croatian coast, sailors have long spoken of sea girls who appear in the moonlight singing to fishermen. And in 2016, something strange happened. A group of night fishermen swore they saw 3 long-haired women sitting on coastal rocks. They were naked, appeared to shimmer in the moonlight, and vanished into the sea when approached. Initially laughed off by the public, the story gained traction when cell phone footage surfaced, brief and grainy, but showing 3 glowing shapes diving in unison. Marine biologists later confirmed the video showed, quote, no known animal behavior, and that area is now unofficially off limits to small boats at night. This one isn't a legend, it's actually a scientific theory with some strange implications. The aquatic ape hypothesis suggests that a branch of human evolution may have adapted to life in the water, developing traits like subcutaneous fat, breath control, and even partial webbing between fingers and toes. Mainstream science largely rejects it, but here's the strange part. People in remote coastal areas from Indonesia to Mozambique describe sightings of humanoid creatures with those exact features. Webbed hands, smooth hairless bodies, exceptional swimming speed. Could these be descendants of a lost evolutionary branch? Some anthropologists aren't laughing anymore, especially after scuba divers found handprints in underwater caves far deeper than any known human could reach without modern gear. In 1830s Louisiana, newspapers ran with a bizarre story. A fishwoman had been spotted multiple times along the banks of the Mississippi River near Baton Rouge. Witnesses described a creature with long black hair, pale skin, and fish-like lower limbs. The sightings caused panic. People refused to bathe or fish in the river, and boat captains rerouted cargo trips. What's wild is that these stories didn't go away. In 1842, a letter to the editor in the New Orleans Bee referenced an aquatic woman with haunting eyes spotted again, and even blamed her for a sunken steamboat. While no physical evidence ever surfaced, the consistency and fear surrounding these sightings make them stand out among American mermaid lore. In 2021, a team of researchers studying glacial melt near Greenland dropped a deep-sea camera into a subglacial cave. What they captured shocked them. A figure, upright, bipedal, but unmistakably aquatic. This creature hovered in the background for several seconds before darting away. The footage was dismissed by officials as, quote, distorted data, but the researchers who collected it told a different story in private. According to them, they reviewed the raw footage frame by frame and watched as the figure turned its head toward the camera, revealing wide-set eyes and thin gill slits. They called them shadow divers, beings that exist on the edge of where life should be possible. And if you ask them off the record, they'll say that we are not alone down there. Have you ever picked up a little black pouch on the sand and wondered if it was a mermaid's treasure? Those little leathery cases are actually called mermaid's purses, but sadly they aren't filled with pearls or coins or forks. They are shark and skate egg cases. The embryos of baby sharks or rays developing safely inside. Scientists explain that some skates and sharks
don't give live birth, but instead they lay eggs sealed in these pouch-like cases. To early beachcombers, a mermaid's purse just looked like something a mermaid might carry. A conservation group notes some people believe they were purses or bags for the treasures belonging to a mermaid, but in reality, if you open one up carefully after it's hatched, of course, you'd find a tiny shark pup. So next time you see a mermaid's purse tangled in seaweed, remember it's a gift from a shark mom, not a mermaid, and it might just be best to leave it alone. One of the creepiest places you might find a mermaid is in a church, but that's exactly what happened in Cornwall, England. In the 14th century, a choir boy in Zennor disappeared, and the local legend says a mermaid lured him away. The church still has a hand-carved wooden pew end showing a mermaid with a fishtail, so worshippers literally sat next to a mermaid carving every single Sunday. This is the only medieval church bench end in England known to depict a mermaid, and the carving was likely inspired by this legend. Today you can still see her in the church pew. It is a fascinating blend of faith and folklore, a real wooden artifact commemorating a local mermaid myth. In 1493, Christopher Columbus wrote in his logbook that he saw 3 mermaids off the coast of Haiti. He was disappointed to find that they were not as beautiful as he expected. They looked like 3 men in the sea. But here's the twist. Almost certainly those mermaids were not mythical sirens at all, but manatees. The Smithsonian's Ocean blog explains that Columbus's mermaids were probably the first recorded sightings of manatees, also referred to as sea cows. Manatees are big, chubby, and have round faces, not like a Hollywood mermaid, but from a distance a tired sailor might convince himself they were human-like. Scientists point out that the order name for manatees is Sirenia, from sirens, because mariners long ago thought these gentle mammals were mermaid relatives. In some parts of Asia, the animals that inspired mermaid legends were actually dugongs, close relatives of manatees. These plump, flippered sea cows were sometimes called mermaids or spirit women of the sea, but a shocking 2022 study revealed that they are now functionally extinct in Chinese waters. Researchers interviewed fishermen and found no confirmed sightings in decades. None after 2000, actually. Old records showed plenty of dugongs and mermaids in old tales around 1960, but their numbers crashed rapidly. In short, China's mermaids have literally disappeared. This sobering fact connects back to our theme. Many mermaid myths arose when people saw strange marine mammals briefly and imagined something magical. Now science is protecting the memory of those real creatures. It is a reminder that the real ocean is changing, and sometimes, sadly, mermaid-like animals vanish entirely. Mermaid artifacts aren't only old fossils, some are part of living traditions. In West and Central Africa and even the Caribbean, many people worship a water spirit called Mami Wada, literally Mother Water. She is often depicted as a beautiful mermaid-like woman with flowing hair, sometimes holding a snake. At the Smithsonian's National Museum of African Art, an altar to her was set up in an exhibit. Even though it was just a display, visitors started treating it like a real shrine. People left coins, jewelry charms, a hairbrush, even a little toy guitar on the altar as offerings. It is a fascinating mix of art and folklore, showing that the idea of mermaids isn't just made up, it can be an active part of culture today. Archaeologists sometimes unearth the ancient influence of mermaid myths in very surprising places. In Amasra, Turkey, an excavation in 2023 uncovered a large 2nd century AD marble statue of a half-naked female figure resting on an urn. The experts believe she's a water nymph or sea spirit from Roman times. In Roman myth, there were divinities of the sea and fresh water, essentially ancient mermaid-like creatures. This statue is about 1.5 meters tall and was part of a gymnasium complex. The woman is, quote, wearing a cloak over the lower regions and leaning on an urn, which likely means that she is a nymph of water. It is a beautiful real artifact showing how the Romans blended gods and mermaid imagery. So in Turkey today, today we have a 1,800-year-old sculpture of a mermaid, sea goddess. Even deep in Papua, island lore hides mermaids. Archaeologists working around Lake Sentani found ancient wood carvings on the support pillars of a traditional tribal house showing mermaid motifs. This discovery was reported in 2020. The carved figure depicts a beautiful woman with long flowing hair and a fish tail. Local legend says the Sentani people's ancestors came from the Pacific Ocean, so a mermaid carving makes symbolic sense. The archaeologists say this new data gives insight into the tribe's origins, and in other words, the mermaid carving is part of their creation story. This carved mermaid is a real artifact showing how mermaid images can be woven into a culture's history.
Next on the list is the cave dive. This video was uploaded to YouTube by Suerte Malsuerte, who stated that he'd been cave diving in a cenote cave near Cancun when he spotted something that looked a lot like a mermaid. A beautiful piece of footage here, by the way. We watch as he descends into the cave, diving underwater, and as he swims further into the depths, something swims by, right under one of his buddy's feet. Unlike some of the other footage on this list, this one is pretty clear. Hard to look at this creature and see anything else but a mermaid. Is this a woman in a very solid mermaid costume though, or do you think this is genuine? From Ladder Towel 9403 comes a story about an incredibly disturbing fishing trip. I was fishing in a river about 1.5 miles from my grandmother's house. I'd always walked there and fished from the bank where I'd gone since I was young. I was down fishing with my dog Josie, and I was sitting and leaning against a tree. Then my bobber went down hard and my rod almost went out of my hands. I figured I had a bass or catfish. For some reason though, I started following my line as if something was drawing me in. Josie was freaking out, yelling and even biting my leg trying to get me back, but I kept following it almost like I was in a trance. Then something broke the surface of the water right in front of me. All I could see was this torso with a greenish brown head, and I saw its hand, yes, a hand, was pulling my line towards it, and I was so scared but couldn't stop as it continued to pull me closer. Josie was between us, barking and snapping at it, and suddenly I was able to go back towards the bank, leaving everything. I saw it grab Josie, and going for my blade, I cut the line, grabbed Josie, and ran out of the water. I heard a weird slapping sound and a grunt, and I just kept running until I was almost home. Josie was hurt. One of her ears were almost gone. Finally though, I got to the house. I was crying and threw her in the car and went straight to the vet. Still wet and shaking, I told the vet something got her and waited anxiously until he came back and said that she was lucky, that he had extracted a tooth from her skull. He said it looked like an alligator tooth, but I knew better. I never told my family about what happened, but I knew damn well it wasn't an alligator. In 2009, a story came out about a series of mermaid sightings in Israel. The mayor of the small coastal town of Kiryat Yam was offering $1 million to whoever could prove the creature's existence. Now, the sightings didn't start in 2009. There had been reports of a mermaid-like creature for years before, but in the summer of that year, reports had been rising dramatically. The creature would often appear at sunset and perform a few tricks in the water before diving deeper into the depths. One man, Shlomo Cohen, described having spotted it, saying, "I was with friends when suddenly we saw a woman lying on the sand in a weird way. First I thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached, she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all in shock because we saw she had a tail." Redditor Cornholio69666, great name, posted their story about almost being dragged under the water by something. They wrote, "I'm living in the Caribbean in Utila, Honduras. Once I was in Neptune's, one of the most virgin beaches here, and I was just swimming, not even diving or snorkeling, and I felt a hand pulling me. And I have long hair to my shoulders. I'm 6'5", so it started pulling my hair. Obviously I panicked, and my two friends were looking at me like, what the F is going on? So I got back to the dock, and then I spot a remora. They have a soft tissue that makes suction, and that's how they cling to sharks and whales. But I've never encountered a fish that pulls down. My friend is a diving instructor, and she got into the water. The remora never got close to her, but it touched my legs, arms, it pulled my hair. My diving instructor friend vouches for my mermaid story, and I believe in them, honestly. And finally, we have the Australian mermaid sighting. Now, despite what you may think about the validity of this piece of footage, you cannot deny how darn beautiful it looks. And not just the supposed mermaid either, the bright blue, the abundance of of the marine life, the sound of the water. It's an oddly relaxing video. We've looked at some dark stuff in this list, so this is a nice one to leave on. So our camera person is doing a dive, filming the beautiful waters before panning over to observe something swimming through the water. It looks like your classic mythological mermaid. It has a long fishy tail, and we also briefly see human-looking arms moving gracefully through the water before swimming out of sight deeper into the murkiness of the depths. Whether this was a real mermaid sighting or not, personally I err on the side of yes, but it's a lot of unexplored ocean out there. Whether or not it's a genuine thing, it's pretty cool. I really do hope that it's real, at the very least.
In 1959, a group of Japanese fishermen aboard the Kyomaru No. 5 vessel were deep in the Pacific when they saw something floating near their ship. At first, they thought it was a person. As they drew closer, they saw a woman's head and upper body with long black hair and a pale face. Below the waist was a long, scaly tail. According to crew members, the creature locked eyes with them before diving beneath the water. One fisherman swore it swam faster than any fish he'd ever seen. The crew was so shaken that they recorded the event in their logbook. This account became one of Japan's most widely discussed modern mermaid sightings. A few days later, another boat in the same area reported seeing a similar figure. To this day, no clear explanation has ever been found. One of the strangest mass sightings happened in 1737 in the Bering Sea. A group of Russian fishermen claimed to have seen a creature sitting on a floating piece of ice, combing its long hair. They described the upper half as a woman and the lower half as a fishtail, greenish in color. The creature then plunged into the water and reappeared on the other side of the boat, almost as if it was circling them. Terrified, the fishermen returned to shore and told others. Within weeks, more boats reported the same thing. This incident caused what became known as the Bering Mermaid Panic. Entire fishing crews refused to go out to sea at night. Reports continued for months before finally fading away. While some historians think they may have seen seals or sea cows, the detailed descriptions make this case one of the most persistent in northern waters. Not all mermaid sightings happen in the ocean. In 2012, construction workers and fishermen in Zimbabwe claimed they encountered a mermaid-like creature in the reservoirs of Gokwe and Mutare. The fishermen said they saw a pale figure with long hair rise out of the water at night. It allegedly made strange noises and scared them off. The workers refused to return to the sites, and the sightings became such a big deal that government officials brought in traditional healers to perform rituals. Local officials didn't deny the reports. In fact, they confirmed that multiple crews had refused to work because they believed a mermaid lived in the water. To this day, many locals insist the creature is real, and it remains one of Africa's most widely reported mermaid encounters. In 2010, just a year after the Kurit Yam sightings, another group of fishermen near Haifa, Israel, claimed to have chased a mermaid-like creature through the water. They were out late at night when they saw what they thought was a woman sitting on a rock. She turned, splashed her tail, and dove in. The fishermen gave chase in their boat. They said the creature moved faster than they could follow and eventually disappeared into deeper waters. What made this story so compelling was that it was reported alongside dozens of other local sightings. News crews even set up cameras along the shore, hoping to catch something on tape. Although no footage was ever captured, the consistency in witness statements made this case hard to ignore. Some speculated it was a dolphin, but the fishermen insist the face they saw was unmistakably human. Our final story comes from the Moken Sea nomads of Thailand, a group of fishermen who have lived on the water for centuries. In the early 2000s, a group of them claimed to have seen a pale, long-haired figure swimming just below the surface near their boats. They said it moved with incredible grace, surfacing briefly before diving down again. The creature didn't appear aggressive, but kept a distance as if it was watching them. Multiple fishermen saw it at once, and their stories matched in detail. The Moken people have a long history of mermaid legends, but this sighting stood out because it was one of the first they described to outsiders in detail. They claimed the creature's skin almost seemed to glow beneath the moonlight. No tourists or scientists were present, but the men who saw it swear to this day that it was real. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. Let me know your thoughts on mermaids down below in the comments. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.
let's talk about the Spain sightings. While it's rare to even see a mermaid, spotting a mermaid in the same place twice is even more rare. But it seems like Spain is the place for this to happen. Travelers on a cruise noticed a figure sitting on a distant rock deep within the ocean. Upon closer observation, it became clear that this figure was a mermaid, sunbathing and relaxing. They recorded the video in Mallorca, Spain. Then this other video was taken by two friends who were surfing together. They were just recording each other and having fun, but it seems like they actually caught a mermaid on film too. You can see its tail coming out of the water and going back in. Now, as they both spot the creature in the water, you can tell that they're scared and they decide to leave, which was probably the best option because they would not want to get dragged underwater by that thing. Now, the most recent sighting is the 2023 sighting. In this extremely viral TikTok clip, seafarer who goes by the username @sauce.90 on social media, his real name being Ryan Coleman, filmed two mysterious figures swimming by his boat as it traveled through the choppy waves. Now, as he records, his voice can be heard saying, "What are those? What's going on?" Pointing the camera at the sea, he notes, "Something swimming fast underneath the water, something swimming real fast." Now, everyone in the comments believes it's mermaids that are keeping up with his ship. Now, a strange wailing can be heard in the background as he asks the camera, "What the F is that noise, bro? What is that noise?" Then, as he continues to remark that he can hear the strange intruders, a shrieking voice announces, "Jump for me." Now, just hearing it creeps me out. Just listen. Now how he was able to stay calm after hearing that is beyond me. Now onto the Israel sighting. In 2009, dozens of locals near Kiryat Yam, Israel claimed to see a mermaid off the shore at sunset. Now these sightings went on for some time before the local media got involved. The onlookers said the creature resembled a young girl and would often visit the beach and do tricks in the water. Eventually, the Israeli government noticed all the attention and issued a $1 million reward for anyone who could provide proof of the mermaid. Now, this didn't include capturing, it simply required an authentic photo. Now, no one ever came forward, but in 2013, the most compelling piece of evidence to date was a video shot by two tourists. Now, the pair thought they had spotted a seal on a rock just off the coast, but as the camera zoomed in, it became clear it wasn't a seal. It was a mermaid. Now, despite the evidence looking real, the prize money has not yet been handed out, but hey, that footage looks real to me. Give those people their money, it's only fair. Let's discuss the Zimbabwe sighting. Mermaids don't really like being around humans, and I can't say that I blame them. Now, this was made extremely clear in the case of the Zimbabwe dam workers in 2012, who were trying to install a water pump which was crucial to the local agriculture. Now, local divers and workers were hired to see what was blocking the pump, and when they surfaced, they vowed to never return. Why? Because there was a mermaid there. Sam Sipia Nkoma, a water resource minister, told the Senate committee that the village chiefs could perform an ancient ritual to get rid of the mermaid and calm the workers' anxiety, but they still refused to return after the ritual was performed. Now, being skeptical of the workers' reasons for quitting, the government hired outside help as they thought this belief was cultural, but the new workers reported the same thing and refused to finish the repairs. Now, to this day, the dam is still not finished. And hey, I wouldn't mess with a mermaid either. I think it's best that they left it alone. Next up, we have the Hawaii sighting. The island of Hawaii has plenty of folklore and legends around beautiful aquatic creatures, and the mermaid is one of them. For more than 50 years, people have reported seeing a mermaid off the coast of Hawaii's Big Island. But the sightings were never taken seriously until a dive boat captain finally captured the half-woman, half-fish on camera. Dive master Jeff Liker photographed the creature known as the Kauai Point Mermaid on April 12, 1998, as he and 6 other divers were exploring the ocean bottom about 20 minutes off Hawaii's sunny Kona coast. As Jeff was photographing some underwater life, a mermaid brushed up against him while swimming and turned back around just in time for him to snap a few pictures. He said, "I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world revealed what people here have known for half a century. The Kauai Point mermaid is real. Now, this wasn't the only time he spotted the mermaid, as just a few hours before, he saw what looked like a nude woman swimming with a pod of dolphins. The woman was able to keep up the pace with the dolphins, which Jeff thought was odd. All of a sudden, she jumped into the air and he realized that she had the lower half of a fish. Now, 10 people on a boat witnessed this incident, but the mermaid disappeared after just 2 jumps out of the water. And lastly, we have the Minnesota sighting. A mysterious video claims to show the moment a mermaid was pulled from the water, prompting claims the mythical creatures do exist. The clip shows a green tail floating in the water and a figure being put onto a stretcher. The video was taken by an Australian tourist on a beach in Minnesota, but the precise location is unknown. According to Paranormal Elite, a YouTube channel which was sent the footage, the person who filmed it stayed behind after the beach was cleared. The man, identified only as Mackie, said large vehicles arrived with some people wearing yellow hazmat suits to protect them from dangerous materials. A Paranormal Elite spokesman said, "The creature seen bears striking resemblance to the mermaids depicted in fictional stories. It remains a mystery whether or not mermaids do inhabit lakes in Minnesota. After all, what happens when the lake freezes in the winter?" The enthusiast continued, "I urge everyone to keep an open mind and come to a conclusion yourself. If this is in fact fake, the question arises as to why anyone would go to such lengths to hoax a video like this. Now, I honestly don't know if this is real or not, it truly just stumps me."
It sounds like something out of a horror film, but in March 2025, beachgoers in Kent, England found a bizarre, washed-up object and at first thought it might be a mermaid's remains. They described it as a carved wooden creature with the tail of a fish and the torso and head of an alien-like creature. Paula Reagan, who took the photos, said, quote, "The head looked skeletal, but the back part, where the fishtail was soft and squidgy." Imagine that. A freaky fishtail thing staring back at you. Local police eventually determined it wasn't a real creature at all, but a carved figurehead or sculpture. In fact, it closely resembled images of P.T. Barnum's infamous 19th century Fiji mermaid hoax, a half-monkey, half-fish mummified oddity. In other words, it was art, not animal, but it is a perfect example of how our minds can play tricks. A bit of driftwood and carved wood looked exactly like a mermaid skeleton. So the lesson? Sometimes mermaid bones are just human-made curiosities masquerading as legend. Picture this. For decades, a small, blackened mermaid figure sat unnoticed in a Shinto temple in Japan, freakish and mysterious. Scientists finally took a close look in 2022 and were stunned by what they found. CT scans showed that the tiny mermaid, only about 30 centimeters long, wasn't a strange new animal at all, but a creepy doll made of paper, cloth, and fish parts. According to news reports, the creature, quote, "looks like a monkey-mermaid hybrid. Fuzzy head, little arms, a fishy tail, but under the skin there's no skeleton. In fact, the body is mostly stuffed cloth, the face has no bones, and the tail contains fish scales." One researcher said there's no fish skeleton at all inside. Radiocarbon dating even showed it was crafted around the late 1800s. Why would anyone do this? In Edo period Japan, the legend of the Ningyo was very popular. The theory is that this mermaid was created as a talisman or curiosity to attract pilgrims or bring good luck during a smallpox outbreak. In short, it was an elaborate hoax. Not a new sea creature, but it does make for a spooky story. Priests treated it like a sacred relic for generations, never guessing their mermaid was a stitched together doll of fish parts and paper. If you hear about someone finding a spiral horn on the beach, you might think unicorn, or perhaps mermaid unicorn. In fact, the long sword-like tusk of a narwhal has inspired exactly those myths. In medieval Europe, before narwhals were well known, wealthy rulers bought narwhal tusks thinking they were unicorn horns with magical powers. Princes' cups were carved from them, queens drank from them to purify water, and people definitely didn't think they came from whales. In one museum, the Cloisters in New York, an 80-inch tusk is labeled as a unicorn horn even as recently as the 17th and 18th centuries. In some seafaring legends, these ivory spirals were also called horns of the sea or linked to merpeople. So a narwhal tusk could be called a mermaid's horn in the right folklore, but it's really just the tooth of a deep-sea whale. This real artifact turned myth just shows how an ordinary sea creature can spawn wild mermaid or unicorn stories.
This is a piece of supposed mermaid footage captured in Spain. It was taken back in 2013. A man was filming the scenery while cruising around on a tour boat in Mallorca, but something odd showed up on camera. Sitting on a mound of rocks just off the shore was a very odd-looking creature. It had an elongated tail and a bit of a bluish hue, obviously an aquatic animal, but zooming in closer, this thing looks unlike any known animal in the world. The upper part of the body appears to be kinda human-like, with two humanoid arms and a round head, and at first you think that it's completely still, almost like it could be a sculpture or something, but as you can see, it does move its arms. So is this a genuine piece of mermaid footage, or is it just a hoax done with CGI? Is someone sitting in a fish suit out there? As for every piece of footage on this list, let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are. This next one's kinda sad, because it's a dead mermaid, or at least it could be. Folks aren't really sure what this thing is, to be honest, but it certainly creeped out a lot of people. Just back in July of 2023, mysterious remains washed ashore on an Australian beach, along the shores of Keppel Sands, Queensland. A local named Bobby Lee Oates stumbled on these skeletal remains that have not been definitively identified. But what a lot of folks online started commenting was that these skeletal remains had almost mermaid-like features, describing the find as approximately 6 feet in length, with a human-shaped skull, an elongated jawline, and distinctive hair reminiscent of a cow or kangaroo, albeit with a lot of decomposition. Oates shared her findings with the Marine Biology Facebook group. The remains also appeared to possess a tail or limb of some kind. Rob DeVille, an expert from the UK Cetacean Strandings Investigation Program, cautiously weighed in on these images, saying that the possibility of it being the remains of a small cetacean species was high, but he couldn't fully confirm because of his unfamiliarity with the typical marine life in the area, and, of course, just how decomposed the thing was. One of the scariest versions of the mermaid myth has to be the ningen, a creature that people in Japan have actually reported seeing over the past few years. So in recent years, rumors have spread in Japan about mysterious humanoid creatures known as ningen, which are said to live in the icy waters of the Antarctic. These creatures are said to be completely white and can grow between 20 to 30 meters long. Witnesses have described them having a human-like shape with arms, legs, and sometimes even 5-fingered hands. Some say they have fins or tails, kinda like mermaids, or tentacles. In one sighting, the crew of a whale research ship thought they saw a foreign submarine, but when they got closer, they realized that what they were actually looking at was a living creature, which quickly vanished underwater. Then in November of 2007, an issue of MU magazine included a Google Earth screenshot that seemed to show one in the South Atlantic Ocean. The Japanese government has been rumored to be keeping detailed records of sightings, but of course, they haven't released any information to the public. Eyewitnesses are reportedly instructed to stay silent. From Reddit user OldSupermarket5657 comes a tale I'm going to call the Lightning Mermaid, and goes as follows. In 2021, I was in Montego Bay, Jamaica. I was sitting on the beach alone during a silent lightning storm at night, and all of a sudden I felt this intense urge to run into the water. Mind you, I don't swim. After a while, the urge intensified, and I stupidly went to put my feet in the water. I remember the water was bubbling, and it was pitch black, and I immediately felt this sense of dread and danger and ran back out of the water. After getting out, I went back to sit down on my folding chair, and out of nowhere, a bolt of lightning lit up the sky and the sea, and I saw a big black figure with long hair not too far away from me, just staring at me from the water. After the lightning was gone, the figure was nowhere to be found. I sat there for a half an hour trying to figure out what I'd just seen, but it never happened again. I really believe that it was a mermaid trying to take me out into the sea. Next up is a very creepy piece of footage. Again, this is a mermaid carcass, or at least that's really what it looks like. The footage was taken after a hurricane. We watch as our camera person walks along a beach. Trees and debris are scattered across the sand, but then the camera lands on something fishy having washed ashore. At first it looks like it's just a large fish, but the longer you look at it, you realize there's a head of hair on it. Our brave cameraman walks closer to the beached creature, and we see what looks to be a mummified mermaid. It has bony human-looking arms and, most horrifyingly, a human-looking head. Again, very grotesque and mummified. And this is probably not how you'd like to imagine coming across a mythical creature. Now, of course, something like this could be faked. Special effects prosthetics are pretty convincing sometimes, but even if it is faked, it's very well done. One of the top comments in the video posted by Cajun2197 states the following: "I've seen real mummies. This looks frighteningly real. The skin pulled back around the mouth as it dried, bulging eyes, taut cheekbones, the ribs and pelvis under dark dried flesh, the fins brittle, exactly like a dead fish dying in the sun." There was another video by someone else filming this creature when it was less decomposed. The arm was more intact and the cheek was not rotting out. Now, if this is fake, someone went to a great deal of trouble to do this. And why? What I find interesting about that comment, aside from the description of how realistic this thing looks, is that someone else also filmed this thing. That means the person filming this video may have not been involved with the hoax, if it is indeed a hoax. Pretty interesting video, but again, what do you all think?
In 2005, a team of commercial divers working off the coast of Baranof Island in Alaska reportedly encountered something terrifying while performing maintenance on deep-sea pipeline. According to a declassified safety report from the contractor, 2 divers surfaced early, shaken and refusing to go back down. One claimed he saw a quote human face with gills staring at him from a crevice in a rock. They described the creature as having webbed hands, reflective eyes, and scales that shimmered in their flashlight beams. Locals weren't surprised. In fact, some Inuit legends speak of sea people who dwell near that exact region. They even have a name: the Kalupalik, mermaid-like beings that lure people underwater with a hum you can only hear when submerged. High up on the windswept cliffs of the Faroe Islands, a remote chain in the North Atlantic, there is a cave that few people dare enter. Inside are carvings, ancient ones, etched into the rock. They clearly depict human-fish hybrids drawn with long hair, webbed hands, and tails. According to local historians, these markings predate Christian influence in the area and may have been created by Norse explorers. But here's the twist. One panel shows what appears to be a mermaid holding a dead man's head. Creepy? Absolutely. But archaeologists can't deny the authenticity, and some believe the site was a ritual space used to ask protection from sea spirits during voyages. These weren't just artistic depictions, they were warnings. In 2013, an offshore oil rig operating in the Gulf of Mexico experienced a strange sonar reading. Something large, fast, and warm-blooded was circling the base of the platform. Assuming it was a shark, divers went to inspect the structure, but returned reporting, quote, something strange watching us from the shadows. One diver swore he saw a pale-skinned human-like figure swimming against the current with almost no effort. He said it had no breathing apparatus, yet it was moving at least 60 feet down. Internal emails from the rig, later leaked online, referred to it as, quote, the Mermaid incident. No formal statement was ever released, and the crew involved were reassigned shortly after. Most people think of the Fiji mermaid as a 19th century hoax, an ugly little thing that turned out to be a monkey sewn to a fish. But here's what most people don't know. There were dozens of reports of similar creatures in the South Pacific long before it became a circus attraction. Fishermen from the islands have passed down stories for generations of a creature with glowing eyes and silver fins that comes to surface during storms. Some researchers believe the quote original Fiji mermaid shown by P.T. Barnum may have been a poorly preserved copy of something real because other specimens that looked nearly identical were reportedly destroyed by British colonists trying to quote clean up native beliefs.
From a now deleted Reddit user comes a story about an experience a man had while at the beach. He writes, I'm posting here because I don't know where else to post and ask about this. I was at the beach with some family. My daughter and I were in the water, maybe 100 yards or so offshore. I was maybe 15 feet out past her when I heard this noise. The only way I can describe it is radar, sonar-ish. It was deep, and I felt it. I've been around the ocean my whole life, 40 years, and never heard anything like this. Then I heard it again. I swam back to her and asked if she heard it. She said yes. I told her to mimic the sound, and she did. Then it happened one more time, and then a young guy yells over, "Did you hear that?" That's scary. Is it possible, hypothetically, that if a submarine is offshore but close, you could hear it and feel the instruments? Otherwise, I have no explanation. Sticking with Reddit for a minute, one user named CrazyPrior5350 asked people to share some of the weirdest or creepiest sounds people had heard at sea. One user commented, "I've heard singing and speaking voices that didn't belong to anyone on the boat. It was just a little louder than a whisper, basically just loud enough that it was understandable. Everyone else heard it too, but it was oddly comforting instead of creepy." And yeah, this sounds a lot like the types of legends of mermaid sounds I discussed at the top of the video, doesn't it? And other commenters agreed. But one commenter did say that sound travels really easily on water, which is true, to which the user responded, "It has happened a few times with the boat I'm on being the only one in eyesight, but I usually chalk it up to stuff like that. Unless my nieces or nephews hear it too, then I say it's mermaids or something." The Arctic ping was a mysterious noise reported in 2016 near a small Inuit hamlet called Igloolik in Nunavut. Hunters in the area began to notice this strange ping noise coming from the Fury and Hecla Strait, which is about 75 miles northwest of their community. What made the sound especially concerning wasn't just how odd it was, it actually seemed to be having a negative effect on the wildlife. The hunters found that the noise seemed to be scaring away the sea mammals that they rely on for food. The sound appeared to be originating from the sea floor. But it wasn't just a few locals hearing these sounds. It got serious enough that they had to call the military in to investigate. And the military claimed they couldn't find any concrete source of this pinging. So what are some possible explanations? Well, aside from mermaids, of course, I mean, that's obvious. One theory that was floating around was that Greenpeace activists might have been causing it, trying to scare off animals to protect them from hunters. This next underwater sound is still yet to be fully explained. Some think it may have been caused by an iceberg, but either way, it's still a super haunting recording. The eerie sound has been dubbed Julia and was captured by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. When the NOAA placed hydrophones deep in the ocean, they unexpectedly picked up this low-frequency sound resembling a haunting, almost ghostly moan. A lot of people who listen to this think that there's something so alive about the sound. It's like something only a living creature could make. And yeah, to me, totally sounds like some sort of large sea creature or maybe a mermaid type animal. I don't know what it is about underwater recordings. There's something so unsettling about them. I think it's the way the sound carries underwater. You know, they have this very spacey, ethereal quality about them. I also think that's just the fear of the unknown. We picture ourselves submerged in the expanse of the dark depths of the sea before hearing a low, droning, lonely hum from something lurking in the distance. It's just creepy. The bloop is a famous underwater sound that has still yet to be 100% identified. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was doing their thing. They were monitoring underwater sounds in the Pacific Ocean when they came across this eerie recording. The bloop was like nothing they had ever heard before. It was this crazy low-frequency noise that lasted for an entire minute. People were going nuts trying to figure out what could have made such a sound. Of course, wild theories started flying around. Some folks thought it was some kind of massive sea creature, like a supersized version of Nessie or Kraken. Others were convinced that maybe it was aliens, because, you know, when we don't know what something is, it's got to be a ghost or aliens, right? But as it turns out, the NOAA scientists had a more down-to-earth explanation. They reckon that the bloop was caused by a huge chunk of ice breaking off from a glacier and falling into the ocean. You know, scientists are always trying to ruin the fun. I still like to think it's a sea creature. And again, the sea, the ocean, it's vast.
Have you ever wondered if mermaids truly roam our oceans? Get ready to dive into the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape. From mysterious creatures lurking beneath shipwrecks to enchanting beings swimming alongside dolphins, these jaw-dropping videos will make you question what lies beneath the surface. Join us as we explore these incredible encounters and uncover the secrets of the deep. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Minnesota Mermaid. Imagine this.
A tranquil day by a Minnesota lakeside takes a wild turn when an Australian tourist captures something extraordinary on camera. Men dressed in bright yellow hazmat suits rush to the shore, carefully handling a mysterious figure with a shimmering green tail. The sunlight dances off the scales as they lift it from the water's edge, the tail flicking ever so slightly. Could this be one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape? The contrast of the hazmat suits against the natural backdrop only deepens the mystery. What could possibly require such caution and such secrecy? As the footage spreads, it leaves everyone buzzing with excitement and questions. Have we finally caught a real glimpse of the legendary creatures that have captivated our imaginations for centuries? In our number 9 spot today, we have the Mermaid on a rock. Soaring above the shimmering Mediterranean waters of Israel, an aerial camera captures a moment that has mermaid enthusiasts buzzing worldwide. Amidst the rolling ocean waves, a solitary rock stands defiantly, and there, defying all expectations, a graceful mermaid makes her appearance. With her iridescent green tail glistening under the sun, she scuttles confidently across the rocky surface before plunging back into the depths with a splash that ripples through the water. The video, though very brief, is astonishingly clear, making it one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape. Could this enchanting creature be a real inhabitant of our oceans, or is it just an elaborate hoax fueled by our love for mythical legends? As the footage began to circulate online, it ignited debates and it fueled the imagination, leaving us all wondering if the age-old tales of mermaids might just hold a hint of truth after all. In our number 8 spot today, we have the swimming with dolphins. Okay, this video is giving major Ariel vibes, and it is exactly how I would like to picture a mermaid should they really be out there lurking in our oceans. In this mesmerizing footage, a stunning mermaid glides gracefully alongside a playful pod of dolphins, their sleek bodies moving in perfect harmony through the waves. At one thrilling moment, they all leap out of the water together, silhouetted against the horizon, making it hard to believe what your eyes are seeing. Filmed by an avid marine enthusiast, this video blurs the line between myth and reality, sparking debates. Could these enchanting creatures really coexist with our beloved marine mammals, or is this just an elaborate illusion crafted to revive ancient sea legends? As the video continues to circulate online, it definitely leaves us all wondering. In our number 7 spot today, we have GoPro on a shark. GoPro on a shark. Those are a few words I never thought I'd be putting together into a sentence, but it happened and it caught something insane. This video shows some fishermen, of course, putting a GoPro onto a shark and then releasing the shark to see what it captures. This is, I mean, a crazy but super interesting idea, but I'm sure no one expected what it was going to catch. The video is a bit murky considering this really is just a shark POV video, but this murkiness is exactly what makes every movement feel mysterious and unpredictable. As the camera starts recording, something extraordinary happens. Amidst the shadows and swirling currents, faint, graceful figures begin to move alongside the shark. These silhouettes resemble the legendary mermaids we've all heard about, elegant tails flickering and flowing as they navigate the underwater world with ease. This brief but captivating footage has quickly become one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught. Could these enchanting beings really share the depths with these powerful sharks, or is it just a trick of the light and water? In our number 6 spot today, we have the shipwreck. Imagine plunging into the shadowy depths of a sunken ship where every creak and ripple tells a story of forgotten voyages. In this convincing footage, an intrepid explorer documents their underwater adventure with a steady hand. As they navigate the eerie shipwreck, schools of fish scatter through the murky water, and suddenly, one fish appears to be struck by a spear. Just when you think the suspense can't build anymore, a flash of movement catches the camera's eye. A swift, half-humanoid creature darts through the wreckage, snatching the fish with lightning speed before disappearing into the darkness. This fleeting glimpse of what some describe as a marine alien species blurs the line between legend and reality, leaving viewers mesmerized and questioning what truly lies beneath the waves. Could this mysterious being be living proof that mermaids or other mysterious sea creatures are in fact real? In our number 5
5 spot today we have the mermaid POV. Okay, we've already had a shark POV on this list today, but now we've got a video from the POV of an actual mermaid. I guess this video is like what would happen if mermaids could go live. Imagine diving into the deep blue from the very eyes of a mermaid herself. This video immerses you into an underwater world like no other. The footage starts with an intimate close-up of delicate neck gills, subtly moving as the mermaid breathes beneath the surface. Her graceful hands glide through the water, fingers trailing along vibrant coral and swaying seaweed, showcasing an elegance that feels almost otherworldly. As she navigates through the ocean currents, the camera captures her seamless movements, blending effortlessly with the surrounding marine life. Every moment is filled with wonder, making you question whether these enchanting beings truly exist or if it's all just an elaborate illusion crafted by nature's magic. Could this POV footage be the real proof that we've been searching for? In our number 4 spot today we have the Zimbabwe mermaid. Imagine strolling along the tranquil waters beneath a bridge in Zimbabwe when suddenly something extraordinary catches your eye. In this video, the camera swiftly zooms in to reveal a mesmerizing mermaid-like creature perched gracefully on a rocky shore. Her shimmering tail flicks in the sunlight as she moves from one rock to another, showcasing a blend of creepy movements and a ton of mystery. In the background, another figure can be seen moving by the pillars of the bridge, making this a rare time when possibly 2 mermaids were caught on tape at the same time. As the mermaid swings her tail and hops onto different rocks, her movements are so unhuman-like that it leaves a creepy feeling behind. Just as quickly as she appears, she slips behind the bridge, leaving viewers wondering if they've witnessed a true legend or an elaborate illusion. Could this enchanting creature truly inhabit the waters of Zimbabwe, or is it a stunning glimpse into the mythical world we've always dreamed of? In our number 3 spot today we have the siren call. This video was posted to TikTok by the user Megpie7, and it shows the call of a siren being heard. The video starts off with Meg just casually fishing off the dock in the night. Meg probably thought she was gonna have a nice, calm evening. Little did she know she was about to make quite the catch. The concept of the siren call has its roots deep in ancient Greek mythology, where sirens were depicted as enchanting yet perilous creatures. Originally portrayed as part bird and part woman, sirens inhabited remote islands and were famous for their mesmerizing songs. These alluring melodies were so captivating that they would lure sailors off course, causing them to crash their ships onto rocky shores. One of the most famous tales involving sirens is found in Homer's Odyssey, where the hero Odysseus orders his crew to plug their ears with beeswax and have himself tied to the mast to safely navigate past the siren's irresistible song. Over time, the image of sirens has evolved, often blending with mermaid folklore to become more human-like, featuring beautiful women with fishtails. This is all to say that what this video captures is pretty insane and might really be something that is the stuff of legends. In our number 2 spot today we have the real mermaid. I'll be honest, this video doesn't really have me totally convinced, but I couldn't leave it out of this list today. This video was posted to YouTube and it just features some guys hanging out at what looks like some kind of freshwater river. They start off the video by saying that they are on a mermaid hunt and that this specific body of water always draws them in. Maybe it's the siren call that they're unknowingly hearing. Before long, they turn the camera toward the water and one of the men points out what we are all waiting to see. Just beneath the surface of the water, you can see the silhouette of a mermaid as she glides on by. The men quickly make quips about how it's strange to see such a creature in a freshwater setting as opposed to the usual salt water we would expect, but to be honest, does it really matter when we're talking about a fictional creature? Probably not, but I can definitely appreciate the attention to detail. And finally, in our number 1 spot today we have the Australian Barrier Reef. Imagine diving into the vibrant, kaleidoscopic waters of the Great Barrier
Barrier Reef, where every coral formation bursts with color and life. As schools of tropical fish weave through the swaying sea anemones, a graceful figure glides into view, a stunning mermaid with a shimmering tail that mirrors the reef's brilliant hues. Her movements are fluid and mesmerizing, seamlessly blending with the surrounding marine life as she swims gracefully past intricate coral structures. The video, captured by an awe-inspired snorkeler, perfectly balances the natural beauty of the reef with the mysterious allure of this mythical creature. Could this be real proof that mermaids share these pristine waters with us, or is it just a trick of light and perspective? As the footage spread across social media, it sparked debate, keeping the legend of mermaids alive and more captivating than ever. Whether a genuine glimpse into a hidden world or a stunning piece of underwater artistry, this video continues to inspire our dreams of what lies beneath the surface.